be patient. Maybe it won't happen in a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever, but just wait it out. It'll happen eventually.
Okay, that's was all I had to ask. I want to thank you again for the class because I've learned a shit ton, and I'll take it again in a few months in my next uni holiday. I'll take it again.
All right, great. All right,
Yeah.
so
So
yeah, so we had a pretty good discussion and talk about a lot of different things during the portfolio reviews, but like we definitely still need to do Q&A. So let's go ahead and try to do that. Time's running out for me. I should have been done in class about an hour and a half ago. And so, but this is the last class. I know it's important to kind of make the last impression really powerful. But let's take the next 15, 20 minutes to answer any final questions that may exist, and then let's move on with our lives, gentlemen. Yes, go ahead, Jack. What is it?
Okay. So I have one question, and it's about education. And
Mm-hmm.
it was mentioned, and honestly made me concerned. So, in my hometown, I got a young specialist art degree from my college.
Uh-huh.
But as was mentioned, at least as far as I understand, in order to work for American companies and as well move to America, which is one of my ultimate goals of my life,
Uh-huh.
I need to have a bachelor degree. So how can I actually get a job and move to the US without having additional education, because it's like more money to spend and more time to waste, or it's
There's
not really
always a
relevant.
way. It's just going to be challenging no matter what. Okay, like from what I gathered, and I'm going to make a very clear point here. I have not had to worry about these problems, so I don't and will not admit that I have, or I will admit and I will not declare that I have all the right answers for this. Okay, I usually
Uh-huh.
only give answers to the questions that I actually know how to answer. Right. So
Mhm.
straight out of the bat, I just want to say that I don't have a complete understanding of how that works because I
Okay.
myself had not had to deal with it. Okay. I've
Okay.
worked
Okay.
mostly and primarily with American companies, and I'm American, so it makes sense. Now, um, is it impossible? Do you need to do all these hoops? Yes. From what I've seen, I actually know lots of artists who are really accomplished that had to go through all these things. But some of them did it in really creative and interesting ways. And in some cases, that if you are good enough that these companies feel that there's no other way around it, that they need to get you, they'll get you.
Hmm.
You know, let me tell you
So,
a few stories. Okay, so one of the stories,
okay.
um, and these are all anecdotal. So this is what I'm trying to say. I don't have all the data, so I'm not going to confirm or nor deny. But like I have like people like I have friends who I don't know if they actually have bachelor degrees and they work here in the States. So like I generally don't think it's constrained to that. Okay, and so um, one thing that I would say is this one story was that there was a French artist, I believe his name was Nicolas Morlet. He worked for DreamWorks.
Mhm.
He's one of the badasses over there, and he pretty much designed most, if not all, of some of the major characters for all these DreamWorks movies, right?
Mhm.
And so he's a pretty big deal. And so he went to go visit his family, I believe, abroad. And when he did so, I think he lost or forgot his passport somewhere. And so when he went to the airport to go back home, or at least go back to the States, he couldn't because he didn't have that information accessible. And
Mhm.
so, or no, like his passport was expired or something crazy. And so then, um, I forget exactly, but it was something that was out of his control. I don't know if it was expired or it was something. And it sucked because then now they basically said, you can't leave the country. You're stuck here. Okay? And he's like, but I got to get back to work. I have to do all this stuff and what have you. And so DreamWorks got a hold of this information because they're like, hey, where the heck is Nicholas? Right? He's supposed to get working on Kung Fu Panda 3 or whatever was relevantly,
Mhm.
whatever project that was relevant to the time. Um,
Uh-huh.
he DreamWorks lawyered up, man, and they got him back within like a week. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and that's because they pulled all strings to make it happen. You know,
So all of
like,
them needs to
average
be
Joe like me,
exceptional.
yeah, average Joe like me and you running into that problem probably would be stuck in the country that we left, right? But like he is in such a position of being such a great asset to their studio that they needed him, you know, and so they did everything they could because they have one resource that most of us do not, which is lots and lots of money. Okay, and lots and lots of money can quite literally get you most things. Doesn't necessarily bring happiness, but you can definitely have access to lots of great things, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that and and that was one of the things that happened with him. I had another friend who lost his passport, and he's like the art director at Blizzard. Same thing. Like they just did everything they could to bring him back to the States, right? But I have stories where, like, you know, there's people where they didn't have any of that stuff. They had like they came from super poor countries and all this stuff, and they are now leaders in the industry, working for all these different companies. I have friends who are like on these weird visas that are kind of flimsy. They're kind of scary flimsy, you know, like in fact, I was trying to work with one of them on a project, and they were super excited about doing it, and then like they got back to me like a day or two later, and they're like, actually, because of my visa, like I'm already kind of like walking on eggshells. He's like, if I work on this, there might be a potential that it might be flagged or something. It wasn't like I was doing any kind of illegal activity or anything. It's just that if he's taking all these different work, like he might be more recognized, right?
Mhm.
And so I was like, oh, what the, you know? And I was like, oh, all right, well then, yeah, I don't want you to get deported. It's fine. We don't have to work on this project together, you know? Um, so that's the thing, like that I do not worry about, um, because it's something that I don't face on a daily or ever really. Um, so I would say, yeah, don't worry about it. I think the only time that I actually encountered something that was really bonkers was that we needed a passport, or we needed to have a visa to come to Brazil, and we didn't do it at an appropriate time, so it was actually a chance that we weren't coming because we didn't get the paperwork in time. But it worked out. We got it in time. It wasn't as crazy as it seemed like, because I guess Brazil was just like, yeah, how come the States demands a visa and they can just come to our country whatever they want? It's like, no, you guys need a visa too. And I agree with that sentiment. That makes sense. It's like, why is it so strict? And so,
All right.
um, so just do your research, man. Look into it. But like
Will do.
the industry that you're looking into getting into, film industry, they have money. They'll make it work. They'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. One little thing you mentioned before about promoting your students to some people and what potentially might help them to get a job. Like you will feature them on your Facebook and etc. Wanted to ask if it's okay to ask you to help me with that.
Yeah, man. I think you just need more work. The quality's there. You just need more of it.
Oh, okay.
Like seriously,
Okay.
you have the skills already, I think. It's just you need more work.
Oh,
So that way if I show it to somebody, they can see that you have more than just your own project.
okay. So when I have like 10 or 20 more arts, I just should poke
Yeah,
you and you will suggest me to somebody or
yeah,
what?
totally.
Okay.
But here's the
Okay.
thing,
Okay.
like in all the cases where I was able to get people jobs, it worked like this. Someone on my Facebook, or I saw a post online where someone was looking to hire somebody, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I said, "Oh, I know
Yeah.
a guy," and that's when I would bring up my students. So that's actually
All
how
right.
it works more than I don't just like I don't have like a list of people just waiting for me to give them somebody to hire, if
Uh-huh.
that's what you're anticipating. No, it's more like, hey, do you know anybody that's dope? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I send it to them. And then at least like 9 out of 10 times that I've done it, I wouldn't say it's 9 out of 10, but like 90% of the time that I've done it has has been success. And it's because I had that much confidence in
Oh,
the students' work.
cool. Okay. Oh, thank you. I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you for your class. It was amazing, and you are the best teacher ever.
What the? I don't
You
know if
are
I'm
the
the
best.
best teacher ever, but I definitely do my best. Appreciate it, though. I really do. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? I'll take a couple more, and I'll let you guys be.
I have one,
Yeah, go for it, man.
and it's not necessarily related to all the things we've been discussing. I actually had a question on technique.
Go for it.
Stuff. One thing that is being driving me a little mad is edge control.
Uh-huh.
You have any tips on that, like how to approach it or how to manage it? Because it seems like there's a bunch of stuff that we have to consider all the time, especially when you're detailing, you know.
Yes, totally. So let me ask you a question. Whenever you walk, are you thinking about walking? Like, you thinking about
No.
each foot in front of the other? And
No,
why do you think that is?
Well, I want to say because I'm not drunk, but I think that the answer is kind of different.
That is true. Being drunk makes it difficult to walk straight.
No, basically because I already am accustomed to that since I was little.
Since you're a child, right? Like, you agree that when there was a time in your life where you didn't know how to walk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Well, because when you're little, you were learning how to walk and you would stumble and fall often, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And every time you'd fall, you would learn a little bit more about yourself and about the world and gravity, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But eventually what ends up happening is that you walk so much and so often that you don't even think about walking anymore, do you? You just do it. Like, if you want to go get a drink of water right now, you don't think, oh man, I gotta get up, gotta move my legs, do all that stuff. I mean, some of you might think that way, but you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same with like edge control or brush technique. Any of those types of kinds of questions, you can chalk up all to one idea, that there are mechanical skills, just like walking. Meaning that the reason why I have good edge control is not because I'm actively thinking of a million different things. It's because I have practiced how to blend two different colors or values together over many years, consistently and constantly. See that?
Mm-hmm. So
The strategy to learn this, what I'm trying to get at, unlike most things that I've taught you guys, most things can be rooted to philosophy and mentality and psychology, right? But this, there is no necessarily focused strategy in terms of psychology and thinking of this, or even practice of techniques. It is it's just a complete motor skill, meaning it's something similar to like walking or like juggling or catching a ball or throwing a ball. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like it is because it seems like there's cerebral versus non-cerebral activity, but the reality is everything is physical. Everything, even our brain activity. Okay? And this is one of those types of things that our brains really get at mastering, is like motor skill type things. Okay? And so the way to sharpen this skill is to do what I did right there. Just is like practice separating and combining edges. Like, can you now separate these forms from a different object and have them distinctly different? Can you have it overlap perfectly? And the question is, then once this is done, can you change the shape of this object, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you change the shape of this object, but you still can maintain that overlap? You get it? That's edge control, controlling your edges. What things are blended and what things are not.
Right.
And the way to practice that is to straight up practice that. Like, sometimes I say go study how to learn forms, and that's stuff you need to study and pay attention to, right? Because you need to understand how things work, right? Edge control,
Mm-hmm.
just paint a lot. Paint a lot of things that require you to blend often, okay? And then you will acquire edge control. It's the same thing as like if you need to get better at drawing lines, like straight lines and ellipses, you got to start drawing straight lines and ellipses a lot. It's a mechanical skill.
Right.
Yeah, well, what else is a good mechanical skill? Like drawing in perspective is mechanical. Drawing in complicated perspective might not be. Shape design can be mechanical. In fact, I think most things, if not all, can be applied to mechanical. Because when I start to paint, the things that I think about have nothing to do with painting techniques, usually. It has a lot to do with what I'm trying to paint. Right? Like right now I'm trying to paint this robot head. That's kind of the point of what I'm doing here. Does that help?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, it's actually an underwhelming answer, to be honest, but it is the right answer. And there's a lot of different techniques, man. There's like, and all of them are right. Anything that gets you moving that pen, okay?
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I've tried them all. I don't think any single one of them is more valuable than the other. It just depends on what you prefer.
All right.
Any other questions?
I wanted to ask you, like, by looking at the drawings that I did for your class,
Uh-huh.
can you say if I have enough of skill to start working in the industry?
Yeah, I think, let me just be clear. I think everybody can in the class. It just depends on who and for what. Right? Because some people, some large studios obviously are going to look for really high quality work, right? And then, and other studios are okay with just, something that's kind of nice, right? And I think all of you guys at least can accomplish that, right? So the next real question is latched around, can you actually work for, let's say, Studio A, right? And that's a little bit more specific and a little bit more objective of an answer too, actually. Because let's say you want to work for Pixar, we can argue that you cannot, right?
Yeah,
but Warhammer, for sure, I think you have a place there, I really do. You just gotta just take it to the next level, just complete it, and I think you'll actually be right there, right where they need you to be. And the next step is just get in contact with people over there. And I would help with that if I knew anybody. I think I know Adrian Smith, but he himself has said that don't work for them. So I don't know if reaching out to him would be good strats, because he stopped working for them.
I know one guy who's working, actually two guys who's drawing illustrations and stuff for them. So
yeah. See, it seems like you might actually have a better connection than I do with those guys. But I do know a lot of people, and I can reach out to people. Like I tested my power the other day. I asked if anybody knew somebody from a certain studio, and a few people responded to me and said, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Do you know a lot of people from CD Projekt Red?
I do. One of my students works there. He was one of those students that I was talking about that I told him to do a thing, and he did a thing, and he got the job because of it.
Who's that?
Yeah, and I met him at AFCC, and then I told him that I could squat him. Like he said that I could not squat him, and I said I can. So I put him over my shoulders and I squatted him. And then because he's a big guy, and he's a really funny guy too. We were having a good time. And then he went this year too, but I didn't go because my baby.
What was his name again?
Nemanja. And anyway, he was really good, and I think he worked for Warhammer too, actually. And then I was approached by Andre with the golden ticket to go to THU, and I said that I couldn't go for whatever reason, I forget. And I said, but I have a student that I want to give my ticket to because I think he would have a really good shot. And he said, yeah, sure, that's fine. He said, but he's going to have to buy the ticket. And I said, all right, that's fine. So then I talked to him, and Nemanja was like, I don't know, I don't have the money, and where am I going to stay? And he gave me all these reasons of why and how he shouldn't have gone. And I
Mm.
said, well, first of all, I was like, you can do it. Just cough up the money and do it and just go. And don't worry about the places to stay, because I think you can probably bunk with some of the other Robotpencil students. Because I have a lot of students, right? And a lot of them kind of get together on whether it's on the forums or the Facebook group, and they'll actually reach out to one another, and they'll get together and they'll try to get a place together, and they did. And so that's what he did. He found them, and he was able to bunk with them, right? And he got a plane ticket and everything. It worked out. And he went. He showed his portfolio to those guys, the CG Project guys, and then they ended up hiring him.
Okay.
And
That's
but he
inspiring.
didn't want to go. Imagine he would have been done fine without my help. Not saying that he would have worked there, but maybe somewhere else. But the fact that he went, he got the opportunity that he was looking for, that he's always asking me about. And I told him, so you already got the work. You just got to put it in front of the right people. And the best way to do that is to go to events. And what better event to go to than an event made for artists like you and I? And so he went. He had a great experience. Worked out great for him. I don't know if he likes working there. It's a whole different story. And that's why I always tell you guys, just because you get to places that you like doesn't necessarily mean you'll end up liking it, right? So be ready
Yeah.
for that. Be prepared for success, because it's inevitable. But he got there and it worked out.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
I do know some people there. I know one intimately.
Okay. Thank you for the answer.
Yeah, totally. All right. I'll take one more question, y'all.
This is gonna be a stupid one, so just
Good.
so we just need to get good, and you can help us in some way, yes?
Uh, to the best of my knowledge, yeah, to the best of my ability. Like
All right.
like I don't just pass out opportunities, if that's what you're asking. But if an opportunity arises and I know someone that is parallel to that aesthetic, like for instance
Definitely.
with Andre, like if Andre was the Andre with the Y finished all his stuff and got it to really good quality, and then for whatever reason Warhammer guy that I know on Facebook is like, we're looking for people to do illustrations. There's an easy connection there, and I can easily connect the dots for that. I can easily do that. It's not a big deal to me.
All right.
And that's how it works in almost all the situations, okay? And so there was another example of a student who didn't apply for a studio, and I said, dude, your stuff would be perfect for that studio. You should apply. And he's like, nah, I don't know. It's not any good. And so then I literally grabbed his work that he did for my class. I put it in front of the person who was in charge of the studio, right? Like the guy that actually runs the studio that was looking for people. And I said, hey, you should hire this guy. And I put another student's work in front of there too. And he's like, whoa, these guys are amazing. He's like, can you have this person officially submit his portfolio, and we'll see, we'll give him a chance. And then I told my student this, and he's like, what? He's like, really? I was like, yeah, of course. I told you you were good. And then he was like, oh, okay. And then he ended up doing an art test. He ended up killing that art test. And then he got the job out of like 300 applicants.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And so, and it
Guess I'll
was,
be seeing you in a couple of years.
yeah. And well, and the other student that I submitted, I told that, there was another student that I submitted along with his, and I told both of them that that's what I did, right? Because I feel like, let the better man win. And so the other student didn't get the job, but he said, still, the stuff that he did for my class and the advice that I gave him, he perpetuated that throughout. And he thanked me, I think, like several months later, because apparently, even though he didn't get that job, like a month later, he got a better one, or not a better one, but an opportunity that was better than his current job. And he just started working, but he just forgot to get around to tell me about it. And then and he told me, and I was like, oh, dope. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like,
Cool.
it really worked out. And then just the other day, I got a message from a student that's getting an opportunity at Blizzard. And I told him the same stuff, man. Like, just this is how the world works, guys. People want to work with their friends, and it's easier to work with your friends if your friends are badasses. Okay?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
keep that all that in mind. Right? And,
Well, yeah, I apologize. I apologize if I sound a bit, how do you say, exploitative, but I'm also in that same spot where I feel I need to get out of this place right now, and I just want to, get to at least where the industry is right
sure.
now.
Yeah, don't be in such a hurry. I mean, I get there's some urgency to it, but don't let that urgency be the main drive, because
Yeah.
you might end up leaving and putting yourself in a position less favorable, just as a product
Yep.
of your impatience. Just take it easy. Get your work good. Make it so that you have a good fit. Don't be desperate.
Yeah. Until then, just have to keep working until my work becomes badass.
Yeah, and don't think that I felt like you were exploding. No, I literally told you guys that's what I can do. You had no idea. You guys didn't bring it up. I did, and so make it very clear that I care about my students and I want you guys to succeed. I mean, and plus it's just good business, right? It's good business if all my students get great jobs and careers and do the things that they love, right?
It's a win-win situation.
Absolutely. So of course I want to make sure that is true, and so.
Thank you very much.
For both, noble and moral reasons, and also good business strategy, right? I always tell people, like, it's a good business strategy as an instructor to make your students a badass. Like, if you make a series of badasses,
Good plan.
that's good. Yeah.
That's a good plan.
So I expect you all to be badasses. All right.
God, you'll hold us accountable.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate you guys' great work for this last month. You guys have been awesome. You feel free to message me whenever you guys get a chance to on next week on Friday. Keep in mind that the urgency in which I reply, as you probably can tell already, I don't reply immediately whenever people message me, just because I'm always dodging around. But I do get back to you eventually, Just wait and stay put. Obviously, the importance of my responses go more to the people who are signed up in my mentorships. That's why I have my classes and stuff like that. But don't get it twisted that I don't want you guys to succeed after the class. Like, oh, thanks for your money. Peace out. No, I'm always going to be around. This is why I keep selling my classes out. This is why people really appreciate the community that I've built, because I don't necessarily leave you guys high and dry. I generally want you guys to all succeed and do well, right? And so you feel free to always respond and message me whenever you'd like. Don't ever feel that you're ignoring or annoying me or any of that, unless you obviously are annoying me. Unless you, like, every day are writing 17 exclamation marks 10 minutes at a time, then maybe that's a little excessive, but none of you guys will do that or have done that. But a message here and there is not a bad strat. Sharing your progress is not bad strats. But what I would highly recommend is that you don't just try to communicate with me, communicate with your other classmates, communicate with other people in the industry, build that network. Like I said, people want to work with their friends. Make friends. Don't just make friends with professionals and other artists that you admire. Make friends with people that are still working up. Like, there's some students in this class that you guys might feel aren't as good as you would expect someone to be as, or there's other artists in here that are really great. That's all irrelevant, right? Like, because in 5 to 6 years, all of you guys are going to be pretty extraordinary, right? If you keep it up. And so pay attention to less about the skill that people have now, but focus on the kind of person that they are today, because that kind of stuff really is meaningful. I have a large network of friends. I know thousands and thousands of great concept artists, but I only keep dozens of them in my back pocket that I reach out to often, that I consider really close and meaningful relationships. And those are the people that were not only people that started the industry with me, that were just as bad as I was when I first started, but people that I made through that were amazing artists, but they were more importantly amazing people, right? There's a great story between one of my good friends, Dan Levisi, and I. I was working at Sony, and I wrote to him once, and I said, hey, can we get lunch? I'm a big fan of your work. I would love to hang out with you. And we went to lunch, and he responded right away. He was like, yeah, dude, of course, let's do it. And we had lunch, and he was super nice, super great person. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And from there on, I just kept in contact with them, and our friendship grew really, really big. We just became really close friends. And when I went through some major moments in my life, he was always there to support me, and vice versa. And although we are really good artists, he is exceptionally good. That was never important to me. Okay, and so I want you guys to understand that. And so moving forward, keep that in you guys' sights. But with that being said, peace out, friends. Appreciate y'all. Hope you guys have a good weekend and a good following week and great class. I'm glad you guys appreciated all the work that I've appreciated all the work you guys have done. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. Laters. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.